Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust meeting of February 15th, March 1st, 2011. I'm off to a good start. I apologize for the lateness of the start. The Water Trust meeting went over a little bit. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the February 7, 2011 meeting of the Trust. I would recognize a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item, we have application for suburban school district funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a single application for consideration today from Deer Creek Public Schools, $77,000, and this is to assist with funding exterior upgrades at Rose Union Elementary School. They're going to be installing some split block veneer on the east, west, and south exteriors, and they're also combining the MAPS funds with some existing district funds. Meets the MOU requirements, and we recommend approval.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve? So moved. It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Financial reports. We are being asked to approve the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for December 2010. Mr. Winger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have the details attached as a part of the item. Total trust revenue to date is in excess of $570 million. There's $157,393,000 that's available for ID9 projects, and there's $13,150,000 available for suburban school projects. Can you answer any questions?
No questions? I'd recognize a motion for approval.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next report is we're being asked to ratify the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools trust payments. Any comments, Mr. Winger?
No additional comments.
Any questions? Seeing none, I would recognize a motion to approve those payments. So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. We have a preliminary report for Columbus at Jackson School, Project ES67.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first of 4 presentations that we have for you this afternoon. This is Columbus at Jackson. It is the preliminary report. We do have Bob Howard with us here from Howard & Associates to make that presentation, and of course he can answer any questions that you may have following.
Thank you, Eric. I'll be brief. I know you've got 4 going today. I'll actually allow David Hornbeek about 3 or 4 of my minutes. This is Columbus at Jackson School. Jackson is a mid-high right now. We're converting it to Columbus Elementary. This is the outline today. The scope of work will show you the existing building, the site plan and assessments. We'll show you the floor plans, the renderings, a color board, project schedule, and the construction costs with a cost estimate, and then after that the questions and answers. The scope of work is the same as all the other elementaries. We have pre-K through 6. We also have the teachers areas. We also have food service areas, MDF room, the small components of psychology, speech, the OTPT, ESL, and guidance, and also some restrooms. The site and facility assessments, one thing not mentioned, we are sprinkling the building. We will be doing some improvements to the ADA sidewalks and the fencing, painting on the inside, also security cameras, and some parking. We also will be doing some flooring, some new lights, replacing the roof, also some kitchen equipment. This is the site plan. If you remember, on 10th Street, or on Villa, which is to the south, on Villa to the south, we have a new drop-off drive, which is shown as alternate number 1. We're also showing new parking on the east, and on the west, we also have new parking. We have no addition to the school, only adding a new ramp and new steps that also on the east side. This is a blow-up of the floor plan. In green, you see what would be the administrative area, accessible with the ramp and the steps. Behind that, to the west, is the new media center, and to the west of that is an existing gym. To the north of that is the existing cafeteria, and then in the red and the purple and the gray are the classrooms, special needs classrooms. The second floor is basically everything of classroom, and we do have one extra computer lab on it. In that this building is a two-story space, it's very institutional looking. With the ramp, with the steps, we needed to incorporate something to make it a little more pleasant and identifiable for the grade school kids. We've elected to put a steel tube ring in a circular form, which also is what you see in the arched windows. We think this gives a playfulness and will also give it a better feeling for the kids. Inside they have two stairwells. We plan to put some graphics in those, and they're central focal points. This is the library. Right now it's a two-story space. It is an existing auditorium. We'll enclose the balcony, and then we'll open part of the two-story space, also include a circle glass window in a triangular shape, just so they can relate from the second floor. And that's a view from the second floor. On the walls, we'll be using a black ceramic tile, and on the opposite side, a white ceramic tile. At the library, which is the auditorium corner you're seeing here, right now that is a plaster wall. We'll take the wall out, put in glass, so it feels more open. The corridor will feel open. It will also give emphasis to the importance of the library. This is the color board on your screen. We also have that over here. There is an existing terrazzo floor. Its colors are gray, white, and tan. We'll pick up on those colors throughout the space, and then we'll accent that. There is quite a bit of black in the terrazzo. That's where we've determined and why we're using some black. And there's also a lot of white, and that's where our color scheme derives from. Our process is such: we've done the schematic design, preliminary report, construction documents are underway. The bidding process should occur in April through June, expecting construction to start in June of 2011 and then finish up in December 2012. The building will be occupied by the mid-high students. They will be going through the renovation. We've determined a plan that will allow that most of the first floor will be cleared out. We'll bring in portables and solve the situation that way. The alternate price right now for the drop-off parking is about $165,000. The PIP budget is $5.1 million. Our A&E cost is $4.9 million. We're about $250,000 under. We're still determining and finding things that will take back some of that money, but we still believe we'll be under budget when the project bids. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Anthony.
Well, first, I want to ask Francis if the agenda called for final plans. Does there need to be any vote to change the agenda or anything?
No, it's above that, right above that. The preliminary report is for Columbus under number 5.
I'm sorry. Okay. When you say that you think you'll still be under, is that including the alternate?
No, the alternate is still an alternate. What we're hoping is that, and we will keep that as an alternate to protect our budget when it goes out for bids. It's an easily identifiable alternate, just as it's one side of the building. We will keep that. We're hoping that we can also include that under the PIP costs. We'll just wait and see.
Other questions?
What did the community think of the archway and all the...
They like this very much. They realize that it's an appropriate building for a mid-high the way it looks.
Yeah.
For an elementary, it is somewhat cold, and they like we're doing this in an economical way, yet it really will change the appearance and the spirit of what you're seeing. So they do like this.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no more questions, is there a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Oops. Voting. Approved. Moving to final plans and specifications, we first have approve the final plans and specifications for Cleveland Elementary School and authorize the Secretary to advertise for bids to be received on March 29th, project ES 57.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have Cleveland Elementary ready for you today. David Hornbeek with Hornbeek Blatt Architects is here to make your presentation.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon. My name is David Hornbeek. I'm with Hornbeek Blatt Architects, and I'm here to present for the third and final time Cleveland Elementary School. Virtually nothing has changed since the last time we presented this scheme to you at the end of DD. It's still about an 18,000 square foot addition. That's 18,400 to be exact, that we're going to add on to a 32,000 square foot existing school building. The new addition will include classrooms, special needs, physical therapy, occupational therapy, a new administration area, and handicap accessible restrooms. This is an aerial shot, and this is where we propose, how we have proposed to add on to the north. If I go back to this shot, I'm going to take a little bit of opportunity because it may come up later. At this point right here on the slide, I can't see it. Okay. Well, there's a large drop off there. We'll talk about it later. The plans are the same. We've got we're going to move the administration area from what was the front on 23rd Street now to the back and create a new entrance. And then the new entrance will be have a security accessibility ability to keep people from coming in without going through the reception area. New handicap toilets on both floors, those at the north. And in the existing building on the second floor, we're going to move the, we're going to create a music art classroom in what was the media center. We're going to move the media center to the central area above the existing auditorium, and then all classrooms on the new addition of the second floor. And again, handicap accessible toilets. These are our proposed elevations. View of what the wing would look like, and a view of what the existing proposed, or what the proposed entry would look like. And then what it would look like from down at the bus loading area. Our color board stays the same. We've incorporated all of the same colors that we had before. You've seen most of these slides. And then right now, we're over budget about $548,000. Project is on schedule, and if you approve us, we'll go to bid March the 29th, and hopefully we will be completed sometime in April of 2012. I'm going to now.
Questions?
I know you're going to have a question.
Valerie?
Well, I'm sure everyone's thinking this, but we're over budget 548.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain a little bit about why we're so much over budget?
I'd be happy to.
Thanks.
This particular school has a gymnasium, and in most cases, we were able to go back and utilize that space for the gymnasium in our program. During the process of when this all started and what's happened since, this school also has a very prominent alumni, and he's a musical artist, and he came back and decided to help the school. And when they tried to figure out what they could do, they decided that they needed to upgrade their auditorium. Now, this was the best of our ability to put this together. It was happening about the same time the school was being evaluated 8 years ago. He did a performance in the gymnasium, and it was a $500 a seat money raiser, and he gave all the money to the school, and the school used it to renovate the gym. So when we got the project, we were asked not to touch the gym. But what happened was that all kind of coincided, but at the same time, I mean, the work was done after the evaluation was done, and no one really put together the fact that we've got 2,500 square feet that we no longer are going to be able to utilize. And so the addition is 2,500 square feet larger than what we anticipated, and that in itself constitutes most of our overrun. And the second thing is we ended up having to sprinkle the school, and that was not included in the original cost estimate also.
Was the health clinic included into this? Is that how are you utilizing that extra space?
Well,
I saw that there's a health clinic in this particular school.
well, there's a clinic in all the elementary schools. And so the health clinic is incorporated into it, but what we had 2,488 square feet unaccounted for that we needed to put into the new addition. And we've gone over this with staff. I don't want to speak for Eric, but I think staff is in agreement with us on this increase.
Let me add just a few more details. I mean, this was the auditorium that was redone by Vince Gill early in the process. It was just one of those items that the school district came to us and asked us not to unimprove that space, to go ahead and have it secured. And so there's 2,500 feet of extra classroom space. It was either build the classrooms or not, but to meet the student capacity model, it was required. And so that, like Mr. Hornbeek had said, the majority of the cost is in the classrooms that were required just to meet program needs. And so it's not that anything extra was added over program from the Maps for Kids perspective, but since we couldn't reuse the auditorium, we had to build new. The last update that I gave you regarding the status of the contingency fund, and we reported that there was about $13 million remaining in the contingency. It already incorporated the fact that this $500,000 and the other projects that are going to be reported today that are over budget, that is incorporated into that $13 million figure. So we were accounting for this already.
Yes, Anthony?
You alluded to the drop-off, and I can picture that big hill that goes to the west. If you can go back to the rendering looking southwest, it's on our page 4, but
Yeah. This one?
no, looking southwest. It's
This
before
one?
that, I believe. The one right before that one. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now can you, the way I'm picturing this, the drop-off starts like immediately west of that. Is that correct?
Actually, it's in two places. It occurs about at the end of this building. It drops off to the north, and then around the corner over here, it drops off completely in a north-south direction all the way from 24th Street to 23rd Street. And if you would drive by, you'd see that track and that lower playground area is somewhere about 10 or 12 feet below the level of the school.
Yeah, my son broke his leg on that one time. Okay, so my question though is like how much dirt work are you going to have to do to account for that or not account for it?
Well, we've positioned the addition where we have to do the least amount of dirt work for the addition. And in fact, what it allowed us to do, I'm going to go forward, is provide a new, if you look at on the north end here, you can kind of see how this is lower. We'll be able to allow buses to pull up off of 24th Street. Currently, they load on 24th Street, and students will be able to enter the building at that point right there from the buses. Currently, they unload on 24th and walk entirely across the parking lot, which is to get there, and it's probably close to 60 or 70 yards, and in inclement weather, it can be a little treacherous on the ice and snow. So, but what we've tried to do, we will have earthwork here, and we've got, it's more than what was initially anticipated, but we've kept it to the minimal amount.
Other questions? Seeing none, I would recognize the motion to approve the final plan and specs.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next item, being asked to approve the final plans and specifications for Monroe Elementary School and authorize the secretary to advertise for bids to be received April 5th, 2011, project ES 58.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are at that point where we're ready to advertise Monroe Elementary. You'll also find in the backup documentation that we've provided from staff that this project, too, is over the projected budget by $440,000. One of the significant items here, it's a little bit different than the one that we just heard, but there was a computer laboratory that was inadvertently omitted from that original program, as a part of the original budget that was identified by the architect during the design process. And so some of the additional footage in this project is to make sure that we incorporate a computer lab as a part of the project. There's some other reasons that I'll leave for the architect to do as well as part of the justification for the overage, but that's one of the major considerations. We do have Omar Corey here from Moda Architecture to make the presentation today.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is the third and last presentation for this project. We are trying to get it out to bid in a couple of months. The project scope here is to convert the existing building excuse me, into a 437-student pre-K through K facility. Renovate, modernize, and update the existing spaces to make them more compatible to enhancing the learning environment and meeting the instructional program. Also, we're adding approximately 7,000 square feet of new classrooms, relocating the admin area, and other common learning spaces. So starting off, we're looking at the building envelope as a whole, and so the first couple of things that we're trying to do to this building is take out the existing roof and replace it with a new roofing system. Also, on the perimeter, take out the existing glass windows. They're all single pane currently from the 50s, and replacing them with new thermal insulated window systems, as well as all the exterior doors. To the site itself, we're expanding the existing parking and making it more available for student drop-off, adding ADA accessibility to the building, modifying the existing playground. There's an existing kids playground that's actually raised up from the floor, from the ground, that's retaining some water and letting some of that water come into the building. So we're going to modify that a little bit. On the interior of the facility, it's a new facelift to the entire building. We're renovating the new flooring, new paint, new ceilings, new lights, new doors. We're also required to add a fire sprinkler system in this building as well, and that's one of the areas that Eric mentioned that adds cost to the existing budget. When it's all said and done, this is what the building would look like. Again, this building was built in '53. There was another addition added to it in '56. So we're not trying to compete with the existing architectural style. We're just trying to marry it to what's there. And what you're looking at is on the left side of the archway is the existing building, and anything new is on the right side. There's a couple of areas where, or a couple of views that you can see where we're trying to coexist with the existing building. From a floor plan standpoint, again, we're grouping all the older grade kids into one wing with the pre-K, K, and first graders into one wing, and then in the middle wing is all basically communal spaces and common learning spaces. The admin area is relocated from its existing space to be more centralized to the entry and control the access point between the exterior and the interior of the building. From an interior finish plan, we're looking at basically 4 colors. There's a buff color that's the field color, and then there's 3 other colors that are predominant as accent colors throughout the building. And wherever that color is moving you into the building and inside the hallways, it kind of brings you into the classrooms as well. There's a couple of images of the entry and the admin area. The security vestibule is where the clock is currently, and that clock was actually a motif that was in the existing building that we can't relocate because it's a vinyl asbestos tile, but we're trying to bring some of that history back into that main access point of the building by using VCT as well. And then, as you can see, the color schemes for that throughout the building. Some typical classrooms in the media center. Again, the color tile that's coming into the classrooms is just an accent color, as well as some of the accents in the millwork and the display cases. We're pretty much on schedule. This is the last presentation in March. We're hoping that construction can start at the end of May and substantial completion be done by August 2012. As Eric mentioned, we're a little over budget. Our current fixed limit of construction was approximately $3 million. again, due to the 1,000-square-foot computer lab and the addition of the sprinkler system and a couple of minor areas where we had to add casework to the library and some of the classrooms, we're approximately $440,000 over.
Questions? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Thank you. Next item, being asked to approve the final plans and specifications for Northeast Academy for Health Sciences and Engineering and authorize the Secretary to advertise for bids to be received April 12th, 2011, project EB15 and ES80.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are pleased to present this final presentation to you. The one thing that you may note is that it actually has a dual project number. It has an EB15 number. It also has an ES80 number. This is the final bond project as a part of the original MAPS program. And one of the things that we had discussed previously is that we were going to mix and make sure that we made sure that the bond fund was not in deficit when we completed that final project. So we are anticipating usage of some of our sales tax proceeds. They've already been allocated, so to speak, as a part of the budget, and the overage that is included in your memo has also been accounted for as a part of the contingency update that I previously gave. And so that's the reason for the two numbers, and when we receive the bids, this will actually be a joint contract between the MAPS Trust and the school board. It'll be the only one that will be required for MAPS for Kids, but this is how this project's been set up to assure that it's funded properly. We do have LWPD Architecture here, Randy Brooks, to make a presentation to you today.
Good afternoon. You've seen this project a couple of times already, and the floor plan and things have, I think I did something wrong here. Here we go. It's 170,000 square feet, 4 floors. This school is a little bit different. It has 6th grade through 12th grade, so it's not a typical school. And these priorities have remained the same as previous. We are sprinkling this building also. There's quite a bit of mechanical and electrical upgrades also to this project. There's no new addition on this building. It's 170,000 square feet, and we're renovating the entire space. We're providing some new accessibility requirements throughout the school. And we're upgrading it according to the MAPS projects. New paint, new flooring. One of the things we're doing in the old part of the building is we're refurbishing the floors, the wood floors, and keeping the wood trim, and those will look really nice when they're redone. We're also putting in some fur downs to cover some of the mechanical equipment, so it will be visually upgraded. We have 3 alternates. We're going to, one of them is to remodel the existing locker rooms additionally than just the base bid, to construct a drop-off lane and visitor parking, and also some roofing areas in designated areas. This is the site plan. This shows the new parking is proposed as an alternate. This property is divided with Oklahoma City Parks owning part of the property. And the area in white is that area. We're renovating this first floor for a media center, and these are pretty much the same as our design development drawings. And we've added a few additional ADA toilets. We've grouped the curriculum together, the band and music areas, and the art and sciences. And this is some of the renderings that we have for this area. This is the existing library, and we're wanting to turn that into a common space where they can display the history of the school and also provide ADA access to this area. And this area is right off of the main entry. This is the new media center. This area would be completely demolished as far as the classroom space. The columns would be there to open this up to give them a space that is adequate for a media center. This area is not being used right now, but it's going to become the band room. We're planning some upgrades right at the main entrance for the entrance into the auditorium, a new trophy case to display things. The auditorium will have approximately 700 seats. We're going to use some of the seating from the balcony. The cafeteria, we're opening it up with a serving line so that it will be accessible for ADA, and we're also adding color to that space. We're also providing a courtyard that's adjacent to the cafeteria that will be fenced in, and one of the alternates is to landscape this area, provide a safe area for kids to go outside and have lunch. We're providing new lockers throughout the facility. This is some of the signage that we're proposing for the stairwells. This is our cost estimate. We were originally at $5,396,000. Our current estimate is at $6,637,000, and we've identified 3 alternates to help with the bidding. We would propose for existing locker rooms to be totally remodeled to meet handicap and also equal spaces for boys and girls, and that's an additional $353,038. New visitor parking would provide separate parking from the student and give them a drop-off area towards the main entrance of the building, and then we also have an alternate for roofing and skylights. We're proposing to go out for bid on April the 14th, estimating 18 months for construction time. And if awarded, it would start this May. You have any questions?
Well, with the budget in excess of the project, estimated cost in excess of the budget, are those alternates done? Are you giving up on the alternates? Or?
Well, we're not sure if we can get the alternates or not, but
I don't think the skylights is a good idea. They always leak.
And you hate to see frankly, you hate to see an old, beat-up locker room when you've got such a brand-new school. I mean, to me, that's too bad that you have to maybe leave that out. I don't know what caused the overrun to be so significant. Was there a lot of stuff that wasn't in the PIP?
When this originally was estimated, there was like 25 assessment items, and this was like 10 years ago, and there's actually another 25 assessment items that were added to this project that needed to be done. And some of them were because of maintenance or whatever, but they need to be done. And so that's where we also are sprinkling this building, and it's a large building.
Yeah, we're dealing with 10-year estimates.
And the assessments, is that?
The assessment was part of the original program, and
10 years ago.
and we've added probably 25 after we got started.
Eric, was this included in your budgeting on the?
This is included as a part of the $13 million update that we provided about 2 weeks ago. And I think the thing to try to give you some assurances is we've really looked at this project from every aspect to make sure that we're touching every space. The alternates are going to be over and beyond some of the basic repairs, and so we are going to provide a leak-free facility. It's just a matter of not re-roofing the practice gym. We are looking to do some work in the existing locker rooms, but it's not going to be a complete remodel. They are in very bad shape, but we're looking to go in there and do our best with some paint and some sealing. But the alternate price is to completely redo those, and so they're not going to be abandoned, but there's just going to be minimal work done in those spaces that were identified in the alternates.
I have a question as far as the exterior of the building. It's a pretty old building. I'm not certain if looking at what you provided here, you're going to enhance the building in any way other than provide the ramps or preserve it? Did we miss that? Did I miss that?
What we're planning on doing to the outside of the building is landscape. We're going to do landscaping around the northeast 30th and Kelly. Also provide that courtyard space that would be an upgrade to that area, and remove the screens that are on the windows. Another thing that will be done is the lintels on the outside of the building need to be painted and scraped. That's part of that.
So structurally, the facility is, I mean, we think that we don't need to do any exterior work to the facility itself?
That's right.
Okay, and then the other question is the parking lot, if I'm envisioning this right, sits northwest of the school. Is that the parking lot we're seeing?
That's correct.
That's an alternate if we get to it?
Right now, they have one parking lot, and the students, the staff, and everyone uses that same parking lot. There is a bus drive on the first floor where special needs children come, and that will still remain in place, but they would really prefer to have the parking for visitors and a drop-off lane so that people don't have to cross that traffic every day. We have enough parking according to code, but the parking would serve as an improvement just for safety for students being dropped off, and it would also be by the main entrance.
I guess I'm more concerned with the condition of the parking lot. It's in pretty bad condition.
The existing parking lot, we have got money in there for repairing sections that need to be repaired, and then there'd be a new top coat put on with new striping.
Okay, you mentioned the addition or the renovation of one central service lab, and I don't know if that's an existing lab that you're just upgrading or adding, but and perhaps this question is better posed to the school district, but if this is supposed to be a science and engineering academy, how can there only be one lab?
We have one large lab that we're putting everything in it will be restored as far as gas, water, and any vacuum. All of those things are going to be repaired or replaced, and that there's 4 other classrooms that will use that space. There's existing lab tables in the other classrooms, but there's such an amount of those to try to refurbish every single room would be pretty cost prohibitive. And the program they have right now, the staff that's in control of that, they can schedule that lab area for the different classrooms right now and make that work. And it's also my understanding they have some joint venture, and this may just be for this year, but with OU Medical, that they allow students to get to go down to OU Medical and participate in classes down there.
Where you had the rendering of the Family and Consumer Sciences classroom, could you tell me what that is?
It's home ec, basically, and that program is no longer offered at the school, but it was part of our requirements to put that in, and so we have done that.
If it's no longer offered, do you think it's a good idea to?
I don't have any control over that part of it as far as that.
And I know it's probably better posed to the school.
It's a requirement for us to put that in our program. It's in our program to do that.
Mr. Francisco, I mean, in a lot of the cases when we provide the equity with the district, I mean, we will provide that space. It doesn't mean they have to use the space for that program. They can put other programs in there, but when we go down to comparing and labeling and making sure that we have the equity across the board, that's how we show those final plans, to show that there wasn't a space omitted in the final design. But they could choose to use that however they want.
Mr. Winger, let me ask a question relating to the contingency. You said we had a $13 million contingency. Is that after reducing it for these 3 cost overruns?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
So we've already taken that into account. And so the report that I gave, we actually anticipate a couple of additional projects coming before you in the future month that have some overages as well. We've taken absolutely every bit of information we know from the final plans that are either in some stage of development, some which haven't even been to the trust yet, and incorporated that into the $13 million number. So the 13 is our conservative estimate that includes everything known to date. The only thing that would be adjusted by that would be something that would receive at bid time. So if the bid is different than the reports you're receiving today, then we'll reconsider that total, but that includes all plans to date.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Voting. Approved. We now have some change orders. First, being asked to approve change order number 7 for Kaiser Elementary School, increase of $62,328, project ES30.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project's actually substantially complete. We anticipate this being one, if not the final change order for the project. It accounts for about 1.2% of the total contract, bringing in the total changes to date at 8%. There's also 30 additional days that was for work that was incorporated as a part of change order number 6. We do have adequate contingency funds to take care of the cost, and we recommend approval.
Questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr.
It's
Chairman.
been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Second change order. Approved change order number 5 for Fillmore Elementary School, increase of $27,457, project ES33.
Thanks, Chairman. The change order percentage on this project is relatively low, considering it's 75% complete. This is at about 0.5% of change. The most significant of the 3 items is some site and drainage modifications for about $17,600. There's 2 additional days to regrade that portion of the site that was causing some flooding concerns. And again, contingency funds are available, and we recommend approval.
Questions?
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item, approved change order number 1 for Sequoia Elementary School, an increase of $38,190, project ES55.
Thank you. 4 items included on this change order. It's less than 1%. This is the first change order for Sequoia, and it's about 20% complete. Most significant items you'll find is items numbers 3 and 4. There's some ceiling replacements for a little over $16,000. You also see that there's an item for some portable classroom heating. The natural gas service line had to be removed to account for the new addition, and so it's been serviced with propane tanks, and this is the cost to make sure that we keep those climatized in the winter months. And so there are contingency funds available, and we recommend approval.
Questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item, approves change order number 1 for the Early Start Fire Alarms Group 3 at 7 schools, increased $29,925, project ES75.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one of the early start projects that actually came in significantly under its original budget. As you might recall, the budget for this project was about $800-some-thousand, and it came in a little over $200,000. One of the items that was found to be omitted from the plans was duct detectors, which are required by the fire marshal at each of the schools. And so as you look at all 6 items, you'll see that these are duct detectors to be added into those buildings. The total cost is $29,000. The change percentage is actually 12%. On projects that are less than $1 million, we're actually able to go to 15% in lieu of the 10% that we're typically accustomed to on our projects that are much greater value. So I just want to assure you that the 12% is okay for us to approve. We have significant available funds on this project since it was bid so under the budget, and so we're recommending approval at this time.
Questions? Is there a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item, approved change order number 1 for Northwest Classen High School, increase of $190,855, project ES78.
Thank you. This is our first change order for Northwest Classen. Work is proceeding, about 15% complete, and one of the significant items that we have located is various asbestos abatement that's just been covered up by existing construction. And so the majority of this change, you'll see in items numbers 3 and 4, is auditorium and classroom asbestos abatement. It accounts for more than $100,000 worth of the work. We're expecting this at this school. It's obviously a significant renovation. There's no new additions. Proceeding cautiously, but again, contingency funds are available, and we recommend approval.
Question, is there, I see notice number 7 where the school district added a requirement from what had been on the original plans. Is that happening much at this school?
This would be one of the first we've seen, just being the first change order, but I'm not aware of any other district-related changes thus far.
Okay. Questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Final change order, recommend the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 89 approve change order number 4 for Class in School of Advanced Studies, increase of $55,442, project EB14.
Thank you. This project's a little over 50% complete. This change order has 10 items. They account for about 0.6% of the total contract value. This will raise the total changes to date to 2.4%. There's also 12 days included as a part of this change order. Most significant is item number 4, which are some window modifications that are required for $18,052.
Questions? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item is approve amendment number 1 to contract for architectural services for the Early Start Fire Alarms Group 3-2 at 8 schools, a decrease of $4,608, project ES75.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. This is actually for the project that's already in construction. One of the cleanup items that we have on the architectural contract is that 2 schools, Prairie Queen and Southern Hills, were actually expedited by those individual architects, and so we removed that work of the fire alarms from those and put them in the larger projects. And so this reduces the engineer's fee, HSE architects, by $4,608. Some of the work was done, but we didn't require them to finish the plans on those schools, and so we're taking advantage of that credit as a part of this amendment. We recommend approval.
Motion for approval?
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next item is recommend the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 89 assign the monitoring, maintenance, upgrading, and new installations of intrusion alarm systems from Sonatrol, Oklahoma City to Stanley Convergent Security Solutions, Inc., and authorize expenditure of an additional $10,748 for the design, procurement, and installation of an access control system at U.S. Grant High School, project EB5.
Thank you. We actually authorized work to Sonatrol last August, and about that same time, the contract was assigned by the school district, and so very little work was done at that time as a part of the assignment. So the first order of business as a part of this is to assign the contract from Sonatrol to Stanley. When Stanley took over the contract, one of the early things that they identified was they did not want to reuse a lot of the existing building wiring that was a part of the original proposal. So the second item that's included on this is an increase in cost, $10,748, to actually provide new wire as a part of the card access system. Again, this is a bond project. This is to improve the security at Grant High School, and we recommend approval.
Questions?
Is Sonatrol in trouble, or they just will have to?
You know, I don't know that I have the full background other than there was an assignment, so the current contract is with Stanley.
Yes.
Other questions? Is there a motion for approval? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Mr. Couch.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of things. Just to update on the projects, we now have 23 schools in construction and 21 schools in design. And all elementary schools, with the exception of the downtown school, are to be bid and constructed by this summer. That's a heck of a lot of activity if you consider we've already got 23 in construction. We're going to have that many more about to go into construction. So we're clearly at the peak of activity. The downtown elementary, the site selection is underway. First 2 meetings were held in February from this trust. Mr. Edwards and Ms. Thompson were involved in the process. The third meeting is due scheduled late in March. We expect the site recommendation in the next month. With community meetings, we've got the Jefferson Middle School Schematic Design Community Meeting is tonight at 6 o'clock. And West Nichols Hills Elementary, the final plans and community meeting is Thursday, March 3rd at 6 o'clock. And we'll be back here again 2 weeks from today on March 15th.
You also have the monthly report from the program consultant, Architectural Design Group, Inc. Are there any comments by trustees, staff, citizens? Thank you. We are adjourned.